watching wrestling, like I never knew Paul Heyman. Like I missed the Paul Heyman era where he was a prominent character, and his Hall of Fame speech really brought it all in perspective about how much of an impact he made in the game. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, he was kind of like that guy that brought the cool factor to wrestling, especially with, it got to a point with wrestling that you looked at Hulk Hogan and it got lame. You know what I mean? As you got a little older, it's like this guy, talking about eating your vitamins and saying your prayers, and he got the crazy ball spot. You know what I mean? His offense was mad corny, and you was like,
Yeah.
come on, bro. And then, like, a lot of people don't know that Paul Heyman was the first one that gave Steve Austin a real chance to like let loose and talk on the mic and everything. And he really came up with that Stone Cold character in Paul Heyman's organization of ECW. And before he came to WWE, that was what like really like propelled him to use that character later on. So Paul Heyman, he had his hand in like a lot of big things in wrestling, and even got his start as like a promoter at Studio 54 back in the day. You know what I mean?
The
Like
actual Studio
the
54?
actual Studio 54,
Nah,
bro.
that's crazy. I didn't even
He
know
put
that.
on a wrestling show at Studio 54. You got to check out that story, bro. Paul
Oh
Heyman's
man, I never
Studio
even knew
54
that.
story. He talks about it quite a bit, but yeah, man, he got a crazy story, and he's just a guy that he knows how to get it, especially when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, like with Roman Reigns and how he's such a big part of Roman Reigns' character, and how he where he comes out with him and he's like everything, and like and Roman Reigns inducted him,
Yeah.
um, and I was like, why? Why does everybody care so much? And then I saw the clips, and I was like, he was the guy who crafted these personas
Yep.
in wrestling. These some of these biggest personas in the game that we all loved. It was part of his craft, and that's why Roman Reigns was like, if I ever see a wrestler not talking to Paul Heyman, I know he's not trying to get better. He's not trying to be a star in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul Heyman kind of turned Roman Reigns into that box office guy that, made him basically made him cross over into that like more pop culture space where more normal people know Roman Reigns. Back in the day, nobody really would have known a wrestler. Like still people will just say like The Rock or Stone Cold because that's the only, Hulk Hogan, like that's what people think of, you know what I mean? Roman Reigns is starting to creep into that space where like people that don't even know wrestling know who Roman Reigns is.
Yeah.
And a lot of that has to do with Paul Heyman amplifying his character and helping him go up a notch.
Yeah, because he held the title for like 1,300 some days or
Yeah,
something.
bro. It's
He's
like the
had
longest modern reign.
Yeah, and he had nine WrestleMania main event matches, the most out of any wrestler ever.
Crazy.
And like people just downplay that because they didn't like what he was doing. But for him to do that, he was doing something right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, facts. Yeah, he was just like, it's funny because the Roman Reigns story is a funny one because when he debuted, he was part of a group. So it was three guys,
What was
but
that group called?
the Shield.
The Shield. Yeah.
And then everybody loved him in the group. Like everybody wanted him to be the main guy in WWE. Like the reactions he was getting, like he was the one that the fans were like, yeah, this is the guy. So then WWE was like, all right, cool. So they took him out the group, made him the guy, and then the fans was like, nah, we don't want this guy. It's like, bro, like you guys were the ones that was telling us,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy. And then like he ended up finally like turning them back and winning them back again.
Yeah.
But wrestling's
And
funny,
our,
man.
and ironically, he's related to The Rock, and that was kind of Rock's upcoming. He was part of Nation Domination, and the storyline played for him to, go against what was his name, Farouk?
Yeah.
Yeah, the leader. And that's how he came to shine. And that's his what nephew or cousin or something.
Yeah, I think it's a cousin, like a second cousin type thing.
Yeah. And I think because remember he was in the Young Rock show. Yeah, he
Yep.
was a little kid in there. Yeah,
Yep.
and now they got the bloodline, and it just shows how these family of wrestling and the way they come up can really craft. And with someone like Paul Heyman to guide them, can really craft like a superstar of a generation. And I give it up to Roman Reigns. This WrestleMania was the first WrestleMania I watched in its entirety. Uh, be it 2 days now. That's crazy, and I was so into it. It was one of the. They said Triple H came out on Raw and said it's the best WrestleMania ever,
Yeah.
statistically and fans reaction wise and attendance wise.
Yeah, wrestling is good when the stories are like believable and they execute it. The funny thing about wrestling is they choose the outcomes, yet a lot of the times the things end the way that they shouldn't. Like you guys are literally coming up with the
Yep,
ending, but you're giving us the ending that nobody wanted.
yep, yeah.
And a
It's
lot
like
of that has,
writers of a show.
bro, and the crazy thing is it's funny that we're talking about this because I actually wrote down WWE moving away from sports entertainment in the Vince McMahon era. So like a lot of things have been like popping up, basically saying that Triple H is now in charge, and he's just kind of doing away with all these like old and antiquated things that Vince McMahon was doing because it was so evident when you watch WWE that this was just an old, out of touch guy
Yeah,
that was coming up with the creative things. You know what I
yeah,
mean? It's like you have to understand at a certain point that you're not coming up with fresh ideas and you got to let people bring those ideas to you. You know what I mean? A 70 something year old dude, writing for all these wrestlers and coming up with characters, bro. That was the era where people were like, there's no way I would be caught dead watching wrestling.
yeah. And that was the great thing about, I think it was Sunday's intro. It's the Sunday night of WrestleMania, and Stephanie McMahon came out, being that her dad just got fucking axed. And that's one thing, and that's why I like Pat McAfee and the commentators now. They continue to reiterate that uh, Triple H is the TKO Don right now. He
Yeah.
calls the shots. And then so Stephanie McMahon comes out after all the shit that came out with Vince McMahon and his controversy and him being axed and all the grimy shit he did, for her to come out. And she's like, you know what the best a part of this weekend is? This is the beginning of the Paul Levesque WWE era. And Paul Levesque is Triple H's real
Yep.
name. She's like, this is where it's him now. It's
Yep.
him writing these stories. It's him coming up with this.
The first
And
WrestleMania where he ran the show. He was the one that came up
exactly.
with all the stories and
And it
executed
was
it
the
in his
best
vision.
one. And you know what's crazy? I forgot where I
It's
was on
crazy just
Reddit.
as a fan, dog, that
That's what I'm
Triple H
saying,
is the
bro.
guy running WWE
Ah,
right now, dog.
because we
Like,
know
how
the game.
crazy
We
is
know the
that, bro?
game.
The
Are you
game,
ready?
dog.
Are
He
you
really was
ready?
playing the game, dog. He was not playing around, bro.
The game, and like from him going to from Hunter Hearst Helmsley to Triple H to the game, from DX, and you see his like
Now he's running the
him
show,
involvement,
bro.
yeah, and it makes sense because his character lived on forever.
Yep.
Like nobody ever got tired of Triple H in the game. He like continuously evolved into a better character that people were like, all right, I still fuck with him.
Yeah.
But I read it was a Reddit post that someone was like, he wrote this story so good that there's so many what's it called? There's so many rivalries built just with this weekend alone that they have like a
Yeah, yeah.
million avenues to explore, like CM Punk versus Seth, CM Punk versus Drew,
Bro, and
CM Punk versus
the stories are so layered and like all the angles make sense.
yeah,
Like it's like wow, this is like actually a sophisticated story that makes sense
bruh.
for
Like it
wrestling.
can go
It's
anywhere,
dope.
and anywhere it goes, we're gonna be happy
Yeah,
because we would like to see like Rock versus Cody, Rock versus Roman, Rock versus Seth, Rock versus fucking everybody. Like there's so many ways they can go, and whichever route they choose is gonna be fucking amazing. And
yeah,
that's
man.
all Triple H. He set that up perfectly.
Yeah, man. It's crazy because they used to say back in the day as a wrestler that Triple H was kind of the guy that was good at coming up with ideas and stuff, but also he would kind of eat shit for the company to like keep stuff chugging along. Like even when there was an infamous event where like Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were gonna leave to WCW, and their last show, Triple H was out there hugging them, saying bye and stuff. And at that time, like one of them was a good guy, one of them was a bad guy. So that was like they don't do that in wrestling. You know what I mean?
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
they
in
broke
front of the
the fourth
fans.
wall or whatever.
Yeah,
No, they
exactly. In
broke the
front of the
kayfabe.
fans, you know what I'm saying? This is real. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So
That's a kayfabe. That's when you break the
yeah,
kayfabe. That's what
exactly,
they
the
call it.
kayfabe. You know, you gotta
Kayfabe,
you
kayfabe.
gotta keep it kayfabe. And it's just funny how like he was the one that got the punishment from that because Kevin Nash and Scott Hall went to WCW, so they're not in the company no more, so it don't matter to them. And Shawn Michaels was the other one that was there, and he was the golden boy at the time. He was the champion. They wasn't gonna do
Mm-hmm.
nothing to him. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So Triple H was the one that basically had to get punished for that whole event. And the crazy thing about that is it ties into what we was talking about earlier. That's what led to the rise of Stone Cold because since Triple H was getting punished, they put Stone Cold in that position instead of Triple H. So it's just, man, it's crazy. And like you said, bro, watching the WrestleMania was like, wow, man, this is actually like a story and it makes sense. And it's like, it really just was something where you were watching it and actually along for the ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it was back in the day, too.
No, that's great. I'm trying to find. I don't know if it was Complex or Bleacher Report. They ranked like the top 25 wrestlers of all time, and it was the worst list ever. Uh, that's not here. It was Complex Sports. What was it? Here we go. Nah, nah. Anyway, um, I think the entertainment factor. Um, it's not. They're not trying to declare themselves as a sport. They're not trying to emphasize on we're a sport. This is where you got. It's the entertainment of it now.
Exactly.
And in a press conference, that's what Triple H said. He's like, we're in an era where we're gonna listen to the fans. And he's like, it's right up to the last minute. Maybe at the last minute we're gonna switch who wins. But he's like, we have a group now with Cody, Roman, The Rock, Seth, Drew, all these people now, and they're with it. They're like, yo, we want. Of course, we all want to be champions, but if we can entertain the world like at a different level, that's something they haven't felt in a long ass time or ever, that's more important than anything else right now. And that is what is good about wrestling right now. And that is why it's a good time to get back to watching wrestling WWE because they are on a good path.
Yeah, they definitely are. And man, that's a perfect segue because on the flip side of that, it- we're looking at now. Let's switch the lens to look at the NBA.
Oh yeah.
The NBA is kind of in that transition where these larger than life, legendary, all time superstars are getting ready to retire. You know what I'm saying?
A
All
lot
that
of them,
crop
man.
of
Steph
players right
Curry,
now.
Kevin Durant, LeBron
Yep.
James.
Yep. I mean,
It's a
these
lot of
guys
them,
are a
man.
little older. You know, it's transitioning to a new crop of players. You know what I mean? You know that they're talking about who's going to be the new face: John Moran, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum. You know what I mean? You got a whole new lineup of basically like the guard dogs in the playoffs. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
always look at it that way in the NBA. Like when you got those guys like LeBron, Kobe, Durant, like you're pretty sure that they're gonna be in the playoffs and they're gonna be somebody to be reckoned with just because they're on the court. So they're just always
Mm.
there lurking. You know what I mean? And right now we got all those players that we're naming: Curry, LeBron, Durant, all of them in the play-in, bro.
Yeah.
They
And
fighting for 10, 9, 8, 7. Like they fighting
yeah.
for low end playoff spots.
Bro, and it's rough. And then like Steve Kerr said it, like when he sits Curry, and everybody questioned like, why are you got Curry in load management? He's like, bro, we put this team on his back for the last 15 years.
Yeah,
Like it comes a time where it shouldn't be put on his back anymore. Like we
exactly.
want to, yeah. If we make it that far, and like everybody's saying, Lakers gonna knock the Warriors out easily. Lakers knock the Warriors out. Um, the Suns are gonna knock the Kings out with all their injuries, and then we're gonna have the Kevin Durant LeBron matchup. And everybody's saying you got to get through LeBron, like, cause that's it right now. If he's
Yep.
healthy, but once this is over, like who do we got? I'm not gonna cap. I'm a Magic hater, but I love how the Magic is running that squad. I love Pancaro, My man Pablo is running that squad. I like his future, but at the end of the day, like who knows how long that lasts. John Morant, same shit. You know what I'm saying? He's already on the point where it's like I don't put my trust in him running the being the face of the league anymore.
Yeah. As far as the Magic go, what they got to do is make a significant run before all those players got to get paid because they have so much young talent that like they've been so bad for so long that they stockpiled these first rounders, bro. And they're all like they all got a couple years under their belt already. So you're talking about a whole bunch of like solid NBA players on one team. They're gonna get paid, bro. So they gotta make a move soon. Definitely, like in the next like year or two, they gotta make a Eastern Conference Finals run or even get to the finals
Yeah.
because they got the talent for it, but they got to do it before they all get paid.
And what spot are they in now?
I think they're four,
Fourth, right behind the Knicks. Yeah, they're fourth behind the Knicks,
and
and
the
my
Knicks
Knicks are
lost
holding good.
Randall.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, it sucks that they have to like kind of scratch this season because of that. But I'm gonna be honest, they wasn't gonna win this year anyway. So
how you
get them
know,
back
bro?
for
How you
next
know?
year. You know what I'm saying? Next year they got a better chance. I feel like
Yeah, no. I think
need a little
we're
more.
building a good squad. This is our first year that started in January with this starting lineup. So it's like we got 3 months in with this squad. The cohesiveness and the chemistry is building. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna be sad, man, when all these stars retire. It's like you really gotta fall in love with the. It's gonna be like wrestling, you know what I'm saying? When I like going back to that real quick, it's like when all our favorite stars retired, and we had to watch the up and coming to fall in love with it again. I'm gonna go through the same thing with NBA.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. You gotta pick new favorites, see who got
Yeah.
that dog in them. Cause like that's the thing, man. It's kind of we're at a place right now where there's not really a younger guy
What
that
about
has
Wemby though? Your Spurs.
yeah, but that team is a few years out for sure.
Yeah.
But like there's not a lot of how old is Jokic? Cause like I don't
Uh,
feel like there's been a young player that has won a title, you know what I'm saying?
Let me see. How old is he?
Nikola Jokic, here it
And
goes.
you think they're going
29.
for the yeah
He's
29?
he's like the youngest guy. I would venture to say, like in the last like 10 years or so, he's probably like the youngest guy that's been like Finals MVP.
Yeah. And regular season, two-time regular season MVP, right?
Yeah, but like all these other players, like Tatum, he be folding. Brown, he be folding. I
Mm-hmm.
would right now. The reason I like the Knicks is because Brunson don't be folding.
Nah.
You know what I mean? If you got a guy that's a rock on your team, but then he don't fold either,
Yeah.
that's a good. The only thing I
And
don't like about Brunson, he's a little undersized, and
yeah,
that
that's
always
a
hurts him in the
disadvantage.
playoffs.
But I think that's advantage of his intensity and his strength.
Yeah,
I saw a stat today that averaging 24 seasons. I mean, averaging 24 points for 2 seasons, averaging over 10 assists for 2 seasons, and under 10 turnovers for 2 seasons. The only person that's ever did that was Jordan.
yeah. I mean, it's when you see him control the game, you could really see like, wow, I
Yeah.
can't like. You imagine if Luca and him were still together right now, what it would look like. Be crazy.
But the Luca and Kyrie combo is crazy too. They're dropping 55, 50, 60 games combined, 60 points combined a
What
night.
seed are they? I haven't even kept up with them to be honest. I don't even know what
They're
like
fifth. They're fifth.
fifth. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
they're only like 2 games behind the Clippers.
I know he's been like I really just be seeing like the stats and like little
Yeah,
highlights more than anything as far as the Mavs go. I know that they've been super efficient lately.
yeah,
I know the efficiency's picked up, and I know that's always been when the Kyrie game goes haywire when he's not very efficient. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But that's man. There's definitely a lot of good teams to look forward to seeing in the playoffs. I'm waiting to see who's gonna prove themselves in the
yeah.
playoffs.
But the game is so young. You know what I mean? It's like the current atmosphere of the players is so young, and the greats are so older and it's starting to phase out. And you know, we could kind of compare that to music.
Yeah.
Like you go into music and you see the majority of the artists are young kids, and now these old artists that we all love are starting to get phased out if they don't continue to drop or continue to adapt with the new music. And I think that's like a plateau that every industry and every kind of fan base reaches. Is like, damn, we got to give up these old dudes and get with the young guys now.
Yeah. It's definitely a thing where, and it's funny how across these three things we've talked about, it's so different. You know what I mean? Like in WWE, the older guys came back to kind of boost
Yep.
everything, and it was kind of like a synergy thing.
Yep.
In the NBA, it's kind of like the older guard is on the way out. That talent in between is kind of unproven. So like the younger guys are kind of running it. So you have that kind of dynamic, and then with the music, it's like you still got those like older guys that are like the juggernauts, like Drake, Kanye, Jay Z, like guys that whenever they do something, it's gonna be talked about. It's gonna be top of the charts. But you still got like these younger artists that are just building these crazy fan bases and doing these
Yeah.
festival shows and
Yeah.
selling
Travis,
out big
Ghana,
arenas.
baby.
Yep.
Like they're just they make such a big impact. Like anything they drop, everybody's fucking going crazy for it.
Yeah. And it's something about, you know, being tapped into the music to the point where you're connected to all these people as well. Like as far as Kanye goes, he's at this level where a lot of there's not a lot of people that are gonna say no to him as far as working with him in that hip hop space. You know what I mean? So he has this crazy playground as far as like putting music together where he has a lot of resources. Like he can almost do whatever he wants in his mind because he can find somebody to help him deliver it if he can't do it himself. So we get these, like, you were mentioning last time, the sounds on Kanye's album. It's like, bro, he's literally going out of his way to get these sounds and to get them to sound the way that they sound and to give the feel that he wants. He's zoned in on that feel, you know what I mean? And that's something that a lot of artists aren't even thinking about, you know what I mean?
Now they're just trying to keep up with the current times, and like that's what we talked about. Is like, is that what's changed about rap? You know, is it that people just want to? I don't think back then, and back then is only like maybe 10, maybe max 15 years ago. People cared about keeping up with what everybody else sounded like.
Now it's like everybody's trying to, I mean, I feel like it's pretty much at the end of this phase out, but there was a little phase where it was like a lot of artists were almost counterculture to what sounds good even,
Yeah.
and they were even just trying to come with these harsh sounds and crazy melodies and things like kind of like out of the norm to specifically go against it, as opposed to whenever you had, like, for example, punk rock when it went on the rise, or rap when it went on the rise,
Punk
like
rock was my shit.
there was still a very musical element to these music forms. You know what I mean? Like rap had a very musical element to it. There was an art to it. Punk rock, very musical element. There was an art to it. But recently, it's doesn't have that. It doesn't come from that spirit. It's kind of more just like anti-music, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like you got a lot of rappers that even say like, "Oh, I'm not a
Yeah.
rapper." Like, you know what I mean? So
They want to
it's
go against the grain. They want to be a interrupter.
exactly. And like I said, we're definitely on the tail end of that. There's a lot of people dropping some dope music now as opposed to like the 2010s. You know what I mean? I feel like that was definitely like a whack era. A lot of stuff isn't really revisitable in my opinion. You know what I mean? Just like the way the sound went with a lot of different things. But now, like in the 2020s, I feel like there's definitely been a few projects that are like standout joints,
Yep.
different things that are sounding, just sounding dope and giving you that feeling again. I definitely feel like hip hop and rap in general, there was there's a thing where I almost feel like the hip hop 50th anniversary was almost like a tribute to it, and it's kind of dead as far as what that was celebrating. You feel what I'm saying? Like what was being celebrated at the hip hop 50, that's not hip hop no more.
That's like a memorial.
Exactly. Like it was almost a
Oh yeah,
memorial.
it's crazy. Me and wife was literally watching that the other night. That's why I went to sleep late the other night
The hip
because
hop
we were
50 thing.
watching. Yeah, just all these old like dedications to all these like old times in rap. I'm like, damn, it's like this
Yeah,
shit
bro.
was but like the Nelly performance and all the Nelly's hits, and I was like, oh man,
Yeah,
we
like
can't think
that
of artists like that right now.
that era's gone. Like that kind of music is gone. Like rap came from a certain feeling, it came from a certain place, it was a certain vibe, and then it just got to a point where it wasn't what it was anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it's like anything else when it starts buzzing and when it goes corporate, basically. You know what I mean? Anytime
yeah,
something goes corporate, it loses that vibe and it loses that energy. And hip hop is one of those things where I don't know if it's hip hop or it's just things in general that once it goes mainstream, even if you try to like stay in that before phase, like even like going back to punk rock, like punk rock is not gonna hit the same as like when it was like illegal to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like when they wasn't letting people play it anywhere, when it was like so counterculture that they associated it with like
fucking
drugs
love
and
punk rock,
gangs and
bro. That
murder and
was
stuff like
like
that.
my shit. That was my emo era. Was punk rock.
Yeah, bro. It's like it's definitely something that I consider when I listen to rap now and hip hop, and just when I realize how much of the newer stuff I just don't it doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah,
A lot of just like the sound in general, and I always say that's why I stopped rapping. You know what I mean? Like it
yeah,
definitely wasn't because I was whack. You know what I'm saying? It was just something where I just didn't have that feeling anymore because it wasn't what it was anymore. I feel like for me, it was like really easy for me to recognize, oh, this ain't for me no more. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like if I want to be in this space, I got to be doing something else, and that's not what I signed up for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Do you ever think you'll get back to that, depending if the climate changes of rap and how
I
people
don't think
adjust
so,
to music?
bro. I think it kind of goes back to what I said, like where like rap is dead as far as what it used to be. You know what I mean? Like for me, maybe it's because I'm not in those kind of circles anymore. Maybe it's because I don't know a lot of rappers anymore. Like, maybe it's just being away from it. But I just feel like that energy is not really there anymore. Like even when you hear music, like you're not hearing somebody drop a project like something that Jadakiss was dropping or
Yeah.
Fabulous was dropping. You know what I'm saying? Like even like this run that Nas went on recently, like it was so dope and it was so successful because nobody was doing it, and he
Hmm.
had like a newer producer working with him, so it was like he updated it and was in that lane, and it was like, oh man, that was so refreshing because it was actually like real rap, and people who are fans of that, they can hear it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
You know what else you never heard? You never heard a rapper take a diss back.
Yo, psh. But I'm tight that Quincy didn't end up being able to make it today
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
went to Dreamville Fest and he was there. He was there
We
for the
saw it in
freaking
person.
for the
But
apology
that's
heard
what I
around the world.
mean. It's like did he do that because he knows how the game is now and how people react, and he's like, I don't want their reaction. Like I don't want like to be the heel of the rap game because I came at the baby face, and that's how the rap game is now. Before you could drop disses, let people pick their sides, and it was good. But now
Yeah,
people get mad at you for saying something, no matter how good what you said was. Like you can't even speak your piece, and people will cancel you just for even saying something.
yeah. I think for him, man, like he 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 messed up because first of all, he kind of led to this. So which is that's like the weakest thing to me overall, bro. Like you're the one that's always been doing all this talking on the records, like you telling stories on records, you know what I'm saying? Like which I don't have no problem with, bro. Game is one of my favorite rappers of all time, dog. All
Yeah.
he does is talk about other people and drop names. Like
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
big name dropper.
I like Game, bro. So the
Bro, one
name
of my good
dropping,
homies, that's his the same thing. His favorite dude, bro.
yeah, and it's like the name dropping is cool with me. So like if J. Cole want to talk about these stories and talk about these rappers and do all this stuff on the records, cool, man. Like even the Let Nas Down was like the first record that really made me even check him out.
Yeah,
Cause I'm a huge Nas fan. So it's like I hear J. Cole Let Nas Down, that's gonna pique my interest off rip.
yeah,
So that's what kind of even made me pay attention to him. Before that, I wasn't really rocking with his music. You know what I mean? Like I'm real big on when you rap, dog, like you got to rap about something. Like I don't want to hear that you're a great rapper. I don't want to hear I don't want to hear nothing as far as me. Like I know that I'm very specific as far as a rap fan, and I know that what I'm saying doesn't apply to 90% of people. I understand it, but for me, I'm listening to rap because I want to hear you saying something like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear you talk about how cool you are at rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a certain bravado that got to come with rap, and he just didn't have it for me for a long time. And
Cole.
then he's J. Cole, yeah, J. Cole just did not have that bravado of a rapper that I looked for a long time. And then after I heard Let Nas Down, I started checking out some of his stuff. And around that like 2014 Forest Hills Drive era was when I was like, oh, okay, like he found that voice. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? And I was rocking with him. Kendrick, on the other hand, he had that off rip. Like he was coming from a real place in his music. He was letting you know what was going on, what he was about. And he just resonated off rip. So it's just funny to me that J. Cole this whole time he's been talking about how great of a rapper he is and like how he's like the guy and how like he's just been wanting to prove he's the guy and how he's like crafting his pen game because he's the guy.
Hmm.
But just the whole time, Kendrick just been doing it.
Yeah.
And it's like that insecurity in J. Cole is what led him to this confrontation. And I feel like that's why he's like walking it back because it's like he this is not what he wanted. You know what I mean? He just wanted people to recognize that he was a dope rapper and he wanted people to recognize him as the best. But it's like, dog, if you trying to be the best, this is what comes with being the best. That's why I always commend Drake because I don't like Drake as an artist. Like for me, it's not my type of music, but he realizes that for him to be in that top spot, he gotta be on a certain type of vibe and he's with it because he knows he's the top dog and he knows it comes with it. You know what I mean? Like he hasn't responded yet, but you know, somehow he's gonna make it work for him because that's what Drake does, and that's what he's on top of the game, and he's been able to like maintain this run because he's he understands what it takes to be that top dog.
Yeah.
J. Cole is not that guy,
But I don't think J. Cole ever cared about that either, though.
but he does, bro. That's what he's telling.
He
Like
no, but he pretended. Like I'm saying, from what I've heard, he's never cared about that, but he is.
I kind of feel like it's kind of like what I'm saying. Like he wants to be that guy, but he's not built for that.
No,
He feels like
like for him
musically,
to join that Drake tour, it goes against everything what he said he was. Riding a fucking bicycle through Times Square in bummy clothes.
yeah. But it
Artists
still
like that would
speaks to
not
what
join the
he
Drake
told
tour.
us, where he's like, I'm a fan. He always says I'm a fan. You know what I'm saying? And maybe that fan it's it's kind of like, and I hate to compare this dog, like not because it's not even in the same exact sense, but just from this angle, like that killer instinct, the thing that they say LeBron don't have, and the knock that a lot of people have against him. It's like the same thing J. Cole is on. It's like he always wants to like say I'm the best, but also like, nah, let me praise this guy, let me praise that guy, let me be humble. But it's like, nah, if you want to be that guy, you got to just come out and say I'm that guy and be
Yeah,
unapologetic about it. You know what I mean?
yeah. That's why when like the Jay Z and Nas came out, and I'm still gonna say when Jay Z dropped the "Got Yourself a Gun" freestyle, that was the
Yeah.
worst shit I ever heard. But he wasn't stopping. He wasn't stopping. You know what I mean?
And there's a lot of people that say Jay-Z won that battle.
Yeah. And I tell you, I grew up a Nas fan. I had the picture of me at a Nas concert with a Queens jersey on, repping Queens, repping Nas. But it was after I heard Ether was amazing, but after I heard Takeover, then I was like, okay, okay. Takeover was different for me, and that's what I shifted. I literally shifted. I shifted from the Queens to the Bronx strictly on Takeover.
Yo, there's an underrated song in that saga called "The Cross" that's
Oh,
on
I
God's
think I
Son.
know that. Yeah,
And he's like, it's like not a diss, but he just kind of talks about that situation, and it's like a super dope song. If y'all haven't checked that song out, it's pretty dope.
yeah.
It's kind of like a calm.
And it sounds like the Takeover beat too.
Oh yeah, yeah, it does kind of have a
Yeah,
similar like vibe to it. You're right. Yeah, I never even like really picked up on that.
yeah. But yeah, bro, I think age and experience and the youth of what's taking over the industry is affecting everything from wrestling to the NBA to music. It's crazy. And then to wrap it all up for another elder legacy, wrapping it up with a Curb Your Enthusiasm ending, man.
Man, amazing. Did you get to watch it?
No, but I've seen plenty of Reddit. I saw Jerry Seinfeld was on there.
Yeah,
I
man.
saw a behind the scenes clip of when the last shot was cut and the
Oh
of
yeah.
the airplane
Yep. Yep.
and his
Richard Lewis
response.
spoke. Cheryl
Yeah,
Hines
oh
spoke.
man,
Susie
I'm
Essman
excited.
spoke.
I might even get on the game after this. I might just go start fucking watching that shit.
Yeah,
Like
man, it was dope, man. I love that. I'm a
it's the
huge
end of
Curb
an era.
fan. Yeah, man, and it's crazy. Like it was unprecedented because it was like an older cast already when they started the show, and that was even kind of like unprecedented, especially like HBO. Like it's just like older, comedians and writers was the show, and but bro, it just worked, and it's such a funny show. It's so relatable. It's written so well, even though it's so goofy. Man,
Nah, it's an
it's
amazing
just
show.
it's dope. And I'm gonna plant this seed out there because I kind of feel like they planted it. The way Jerry was involved in that ending, oh man, you haven't seen it yet. Well, this is not gonna ruin anything because I'm not gonna spoil anything.
No, no, I already saw like the
Yeah,
pictures of the scene and they talked about it, so I know
but yeah,
like
the way Jerry Seinfeld was involved with the Curb Your Enthusiasm finale, it kind of made me feel like they were kind of leaving the door open to say, "Hey, maybe this show will still live on, but
not with
it'll
Larry
be
David.
Jerry's version." You know what I'm saying?
Ooh,
When you watch it, just kind of remember I said that, and then you kind of look at it through that lens. Because I don't know, bro. I feel like they could pull a fast one bro, if Jerry gets the blessing from Larry and he just says, "I want to do
yeah.
that." I mean,
I
bro.
mean, there's plenty like all the Tonight shows, all the late night shows. They just hand it down to somebody else.
Yep.
It's not the end of a show. They just hand it down to somebody else, and they continue the same show.
Bro, that would be epic
Ooh,
and would be
damn!
legendary
I'm
for a
about to binge the
Seinfeld
shit out of
fan, a
those
Curb
episodes.
fan, like just oh man,
And
that
we all
would
know, just for context, we know who wrote all the Seinfeld episodes.
yes, sir. And for those who don't know, George Costanza is based off of Larry David. Like it was a
Yeah.
lot of Larry David's real life stories that
Mm-hmm.
he used for George Costanza. Jason Alexander, who played George Costanza, went to Larry one time and was like, "Yo, I don't even know how to act in this scene because this situation you're presenting me
Yeah.
is so outlandish. Like, who would ever be in this situation and react like
Yeah.
that?" And Larry
And
was like,
I'm gonna tell you
it
right
was
now,
me. This situation happened to me, and I reacted like it.
that's my wife is not a big fan of Curb, and no matter how much I try to get into it, she's like, these situations are so crazy. I'm like, but that's what it is. Like, he's the type of thing. He's like, what the fuck? What's the point of this shit? He will say, why are we doing this? Why is this situation even happening? Like, he will sit there and call shit out and make the most absurd points that everybody is too afraid to make, and that was why the writing was so good. He wrote stuff that everybody thought, but everybody was too afraid to write
This
and
is what I
say.
love. We'll wrap up with this, but this is what I love about Curb. And if I ever got to speak to Larry David, this is what I would ask him. If he purposely made the show like this, because I feel like this was the Larry David character, and this was the gist of the show. Larry would always make a point of something, and when you analyze what he said, he was always in the right
Always,
every time.
always,
If
Always.
you analyze the situation, he was in the right. Like, just off the top of my head, the episode where he went to the beach, brought his jacket because he knew it was gonna be cold. A lady took his jacket without asking because it was cold, so he was left in the cold. And then she gets chocolate on the jacket and ruins it. And she acted like everything was cool. And he was like, "You should replace the jacket." Bro, it makes sense. But it's what he
Nah.
does after, like his reaction to it is always what makes him end up being in the wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like that was the formula of the show. It's like he has a valid point, but let me fumble it.
Yeah.
And it ends up being like the wrong situation.
Nah, it's great. There's so like everybody has to watch it because you can relate and say, yeah, man, you know what? He's right. I will kind of react the same way in that situation if I had the balls to do it. But guess what? He had the balls to do it. Not a lot of
Yep.
comedians had the balls to be that kind of way and write that kind of content. Yo, salute to an era, Larry David.
Yes, sir. Curb Your
Curb
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm is for you.
Hopefully the rebirth will be soon.
I'm with it. I'm watching that.
And hopefully Larry Davis stays butter.